Good day everyone, this is Jasmin and I am one of the discussants for Chapter 4, Climate Change and the Energy Crisis. For today, we are going to tackle a topic that I believe is very interesting and familiar to us who grew up in the comfortability brought by electricity and other energy. But before I begin with my discussion, I have some questions for you to ponder. Can you imagine yourself living in a place away from the comfort of the air coming up from your electric fan or AC, and with zero power to charge your devices? A place where gas doesn't exist, so is a vehicle. What do you think will happen if there is no oil? Do you think we're still able to survive? Maybe yes, but not as convenient as how we live our life today. Right? So I have here a short game called 4 Pigs 1 Word. You are going to guess what is being described by these pictures. Ready? In 3, 2, 1, go! Did you guess the correct answer? Very good! This has something to do with our topic. Again, this is Jasmin and Vasquez, and I will discuss energy crisis and alternative energy sources. At the end of the lesson, the students should be able to define what is energy and energy crisis, list the forms of energy, and differentiate non-renewable energy and renewable energy. Identify factors that contributes to energy crisis, evaluate alternative energy sources, and explain their advantages and disadvantages. Without further ado, let's begin. So, what is energy? Energy is defined as the capacity of a physical system to perform work. Something or someone can perform an action if there is an energy. For example, Daisy can showcase her dance skill because she has the energy that she gets from food. Marlene can sing on a videoke because the technology is powered by electricity. Charlie can travel through bus because the bus is powered by a gas, which is an energy. If you can observe, everything that surrounds us has energy. Energy, again, is like the fuel of an action. When we were in high school, we learned that energy exists in several forms, such as heat, kinetic, light, potential energy, and electrical energy. Remember that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Energy can only be transferred from one object to another. What it means is, each forms of energy can be converted or changed into other forms. For example, when a person eats food, they get chemical energy stored in the food. When they move, the chemical energy is converted to kinetic energy. So we have two sources of energy called the renewable energy and non-renewable energy. Let us first define non-renewable energy. This energy is also called as finite energy. Ibig sabihin, may hangganan or nauubos. It took millions of years to produce but finished in a short period of time. Example of this is coal, oil, and natural gas. The other source is renewable energy. This energy naman comes from unlimited resources, can replenish or are continuously present as a feature of the solar system. Example is wind, sun, and water. Congratulations, and you made it to the first half of our discussion. Now that you know the meaning of energy, its different forms, and its two sources, let's move on to energy crisis. So what is energy crisis? From the word energy and crisis, ibig sabihin kakulangan sa supply ng energy, may it be sa supply ng oil, electricity, or other natural resources. So imagine, how many vehicles ang nakakasabay niyo when you are going to school? Hindi mabilang, right? And each vehicles is fueled by gasoline. If yung mga vehicles pa lang na yon consume a lot of gas, what more if pinagsama-sama natin ang nako-consume na energy of other vehicles from other places? Talagang magkakaroon ng shortage. Remember that gasoline is a type of non-renewable energy, so limited lamang ang supply nito. Another example, sa isang household, let's say, may taga-apat na light bulb. And if every night, that 50 household, sabay-sabay nilang pig-turn on yung lights na yon, a lot of electricity is being spent. Have you experienced that? yung hina yung power nyo sa bahay, especially during fiestas or may occasions. Like, nagiglitch yung light nyo or humihina yung electric fan nyo. That is a manifestation of energy crisis. Also, malalaman yung a country is facing energy crisis kapag yung oil price and other goods prices ay nag-increase because there is no enough supply in the market. So bakit nga ba nagkakaroon ng energy crisis? What are the factors? Firstly, the overpopulation. The steady increase to the world's population and its great demands for fuel and products causes energy crisis. Especially that we are in digital age. The more na lumalaki yung population natin, the more na marami ang gumagamit ng technologies na need ng mas malaking supply sa electricity. Simply, the larger the population, the bigger the demand for food, oil, electricity, and natural resources. And keep in mind that regardless of the type of product, it is manufactured with raw resources that deplete our energy resources. The bigger the demand, the larger the needs to extract energy. The bigger the chance for shortage. Best example nito is yung mga sinabi kong situation kanina about sa dami ng gumagamit ng vehicles, likewise the energy to make it work. Next is the overconsumption. It has been established that the energy crisis results from widespread overconsumption. Some people are too greedy to harvest resources for too much for their own sake without even thinking. Ang sobra-sobra nating paggamit ng energy can strain resources and lead to shortages. Then, the war and attacks. Wars between countries can also hamper supply of energy, especially if it happens in Middle East countries. Do you have any idea about the famous energy crisis because of the war happened in 1973 between Arab and Israel? When the war broke up, United States supported Israel. Since US import oil from Arab countries and North Africa, the Arabs decided to pull out and not to sell their oil to US and its allies, which led to major changes such as oil price hike, gas station doesn't have enough gas, and prices for everything went up. Additionally, some terrorist organizations like Taliban also tried to capture mines to use those fuels for their own weapons and sell those fuels to arrange funds for their notorious acts. Clearly, war and attacks doesn't only impact in the distributions of energy, but also destroy the natural resources. The war today between Palestine and Israel bring down Gaza into energy crisis. No enough food, no power supply, and even water. Lastly, the unexplored renewable energy options. Renewable energy still remains unused in most developed countries in producing electricity since they don't find it as efficient as the conventional ones, which is the non-renewable energy. But remember, if magre-rely lang tayo sa non-renewable energy, as time pass by, mauubos to. Oil and gas will run out. Also, each has its drawbacks such as greenhouse gas emissions, air pollution, and environmental degradation. So if renewable energy options is not being given a serious thoughts, the problem of energy crisis cannot be solved. For these reasons, we have to think of alternative sources of energy. So, what are those? The solar energy, hydroelectric power, tidal energy, wind power, biomass, and geothermal energy. First is the solar energy. I believe this is the most familiar renewable energy to us. I bet each of us has at least one solar panel in their house. Solar energy is abundant and widely available, making it one of the fastest growing renewable energy sources. Solar energy is simply the energy coming from the sun. Solar technologies harnesses the sun's energy for industrial processes, building, transportation, and electricity. Here are some solar energy technologies. Number 1. The solar thermal energy. Solar thermal energy collect and transforms solar energy into high-temperature thermal energy that can be used directly or converted to electricity. Two methods are employed in this technology: a central receiver system and a solar thermal plant. So this tower is the central receiver system, and this panel are the solar thermal plant. Ang ginagawa ng central receiver system na yan is Pigtatrack niya individually yung sun and it focused the sunlight sa top ng tower. The solar energy is absorbed by a working fluid and then used to generate electricity. On the other hand, solar thermal plants usually have a large field or array. Unlike sa CRS, ang gamit dito ay mirrors, not a tower. So the mirrors concentrate the sunlight on a radiation collector and pumps water to the receiver, where the thermal energy hits the water to form steam to run turbines and generate electricity. Again, this tower is the central power tower, and itong nasa field ng mga mirrors are the solar thermal plant. So which do you think ang mas effective na method? Next technology is the photovoltaic PV cells or solar cells. Unlike the solar thermal energy, PVC or solar cells converted solar energy directly into electrical energy. Diba kasi, sa solar thermal energy, it harvests sunlight to generate heat and then produce electricity. Dito, yung sunlight, diretso na siya nakakapag-produce ng electricity, no need to generate heat from it. Solar cell is a transparent panel semiconductive material with a thickness ranging from less than that of a human hair to a sheet of a paper. When the sun hit the semiconductor within the PVC, electrons are freed, creating electric current. There are two categories of solar cell devices, the concentration system and flat plate system. Concentration system use direct sunlight and lenses or curved mirrors to focus radiation onto highly efficient solar cells, meaning concentration system can absorb only direct solar radiation, while plate system utilizes the whole solar radiation, meaning it can absorb both direct and diffuse solar radiation. Next technology for solar thermal energy is the solar building technologies. Under solar building technologies, we have active, passive, and cooling systems. Active system provides hot water and space heating for residential or commercial buildings by using solar technologies like solar panel and inverter. On the other hand, passive solar system depend on the pattern, structure, and construction of your home rather than external sources. Example of this is a car parked in the sun. The metal surface absorbs sunlight and heats the interiors. So, it is your preference how you capture and retain heat in passive solar system. This system follow a thermodynamic law which states that heat moves from warm to cool surfaces to capture the sun's energy and change the temperature. Cooling systems might include natural ventilation, shading, or even solar-powered air conditioning to keep buildings comfortable while minimizing energy usage. For passive heating technologies, we have storage walls, sun spaces, and rainwater harvesting roofs. For passive cooling technologies, we have insulated and low emissivity building materials, landscaping methods, and earth cooling tubes is needed. To conclude these three systems, active system harness and distribute solar energy involving mechanical energy. Passive heating maximize sunlight penetration through design features, and cooling systems transform energy to solar air conditioning. And last technology for this category is the solar cookers. Simply, this technology is used to cook and pasteurize drinks by focusing and concentrating the light to the receiver, kaya pa-curve yung shape niya. Next alternative energy source is the water. This is what we call hydroelectric power. Hydroelectric power is the electricity generated from the energy of flowing or falling water like river, streams, and canals. The flow of water can be controlled by dams and reservoir and released to spin turbines to produce electricity. While hydropower is considered a clean and reliable energy source in many countries, the use of it, specifically of dams, faces disadvantages. It possesses a number of environmental and ecological issues such as human displacement. Population displacement caused by dam construction is the most serious counter-development social consequences of water resources development. Construction of large dams often requires the relocation of communities and disruptions of traditional livelihoods. Hydroelectric power can also change the water quality due to siltation and alteration of the water flows. Kapag nagflow ang water sa river, it naturally carries slit. However, when river is turned into dam, this process is disrupted and slit is deposited into reservoir instead of downstream. Hydropower plants also affect the natural process and food patterns of other wildlife. The construction of dams and reservoirs for hydropower plants can lead to the flooding of large areas of land, altering and destroying natural habitats. This can disrupt the distribution and abundance of wildlife species, leading to changes in food availability. Gravel, log, and other important food and habitat features can also trap behind dams. So how do we generate hydropower? We have three processes: the small scale, large scale, and pump storage. In small scale, a low dam is involved but with no reservoir. It is built across a river or stream where the flow of water is used to spin turbines and produce electricity. Next is the large scale. Sa large scale naman, high dam is built across large pipes that spin turbines and thereby generate electricity. And lastly, the pump storage. So it uses recycled water instead of free-flowing water. Our third energy source is the tidal power. Like hydroelectric power, tidal power also harnesses the power of water to generate electricity. But tidal power produces electricity from the waves or tides of the ocean. We have two mechanisms for this alternative energy. First is the ocean thermal energy or OTEC. It uses the temperature difference between the ocean surface and ocean depth of about 100 meters to generate electricity. Clearly, it utilizes the temperature difference between warm surface and cold deep water. Instead of burning fossil fuels, we can extract the heat from the warm seawater. When seawater turns to steam, it drives the turbines to create power before it condenses back to water once the temperature cools. Next is the tidal power system. The difference between the two mechanisms is ocean thermal energy generates electricity based on the temperature. On the other hand, tidal power system produces power based on the rising and falling of the tides, similar to hydroelectric power generation. The use of tidal energy may be effective and sustainable. However, it may also affect and even be hazardous to the marine life in the area. One concern is the potential of the turbines to injure or kill marine animals, such as fish and marine mammals through collision. Let's proceed to wind power. Wind power, of course, harnesses the kinetic energy of the wind to produce electricity. I know we are very familiar with windmills, those typically mounted on towers. Those wind turbines capture the energy of the wind and convert it into electrical power through generator. Wind power has been considered the most efficient source of energy since 1990, as it has high net energy yield and is widely available. Ilocos Norte is one of the biggest consumers of wind power in the Philippines. The place, in fact, is known for their windmills and crowned as the renewable energy capital of Southeast Asia. However, the use of wind turbines possess disadvantages such as risk to environment. The moving blades of turbines may be a threat to bats and birds. The sound of moving blades and the sight of wind generators may also be considered bothersome by some individuals. Our next renewable energy is the biomass. So biomass refers to any material made by plants and animals that we can convert to energy. The most common way to produce energy from biomass is to burn it directly as solid fuel to make heat, steam, and electricity. How does it work? Firstly, sinusunog yung waste to heat water. The hot water creates steam. Then, yung pressure ng steam speed a turbine. The turbine powers a generator. The generator creates electricity. Example of biomass is wood. Diba before the popularization of gas stove, our traditional way of cooking is using wood. Another examples are industrial waste, agricultural residues, animal waste, and energy crops. Biomass is used for cooking, heating, and industrial purposes. So ano nga ba yung mga tawag sa pag-convert ng solid materials from animals and plants into an energy? Firstly, the direct combustion and cogeneration. This is simply the burning of the materials. This can be observed when we are creating a campfire. Diba, we are directly burning the materials to generate heat. Second is the ethanol. Ethanol is a renewable fuel that can be made by fermenting sugars from sugarcane, corn, and other starchy materials. In short, from energy crops. Crops that contain starch have to be converted to sugar first to produce ethanol. Next is the anaerobic digestion. It is the decomposition of biomass through the use of bacteria under anaerobic conditions. And lastly is the pyrolysis. It is the biochemical process of converting solid biomass to more useful biofuel. This consists of heating solid biomass in the absence of air to produce solid, liquid, and gaseous fuels. Here are the disadvantages of producing energy using biomass. First, the process of converting the material to energy produces carbon dioxide and methane, which are released to the atmosphere, thereby causing depletion of essential solid and continuous cycles. Then, the use of biomass also affects the environment, as the use of fuel wood requires the cutting down of trees, and growing energy crops requires clearing of land. Finally, we have come to our last alternative energy source, the geothermal energy. If you have observed an erupting volcano, you have seen geothermal energy in action. From the word geo means earth and thermal means heat, it talks about the heat that originates from the soil, underground rocks, volcanic rocks, geysers, and hot springs. It generates electricity or provides heating and cooling. Sources include molten rocks, hot dry rock zones, and warm rocks reservoir deposits. The earth crust is made of rocks and water. Deep below that is a layer of hot molten rocks called magma, which is even hotter from the sun's surface. Geothermal heat systems trap the heat of the earth between its surface and underneath it. The underground reservoirs of geothermal energy contain dry steam, wet steam, and hot water. Dry steam contains water vapor but no water droplets. Wet steam is a mix of water vapor and water droplets. And hot water is contained in fractures or porous rocks or different places in the Earth's crust. Wells can be drilled to extract dry and wet steam as well as hot water from reservoirs near the Earth's surface. While geothermal energy has its benefits, such as being renewable and low in emissions, it has also some drawbacks like surface instability. The construction of large geothermal power plants can trigger an earthquake. Congratulations everyone! You made it to the end of our discussion. I hope you have learned something for today. If you wanted to test what have you learned, a short quiz is given after the next clip. Goodbye and have a good day.